What a year.
It's an interesting year where you see TNA's identity shift a couple of times, where like it starts as this kind of like weird WCW retreat, and then it becomes kind of like a traditional wrestling company that also still has Vince Russo elements. And now, as the year goes on, as the months go by, we see it increasingly become like the Vince Russo style wrestling company that we all know and don't necessarily love.
Speak for yourself. I'm a sex addict for sure.
Yeah, so it's weird to see this company work itself out. It's weird to see, like, the biggest problem they had, and they always had, is they, from the very beginning, did not have an identity for what they wanted this thing to look like. And, like, they, in fact, had two conflicting visions of what they wanted this thing to look like, and those two things always clashed, and then they turned that clash into the main story on the show, which I think, honestly, was their plan all along. So maybe it's actually high art, and we should commend it. But for the most part, like this year, like they do work out who their stars are. Like they're like, all right, AMW tag team, Styles X Division, those are our guys, and obviously Jarrett's the heavyweight guy. Like Killings comes good. A lot of the people who show up in the early days filter out. Like if you look at the number of people who aren't on these shows anymore, like Buff Bagwell or Ken Shamrock or Bruce or Apollo, or all the people who were like
Hall
or Monty Brown, all the people who were like fixtures through the early days. Even this is a fully Brian Lawler this month.
Disgraceful. Hence why it's the worst one.
Yeah, because he's selling his quitting angle, so he's not here for the entire month.
I was kind of worried he wasn't coming back, so...
You will get more Brian Lawler, don't you worry.
Thank Christ.
So yeah, it's weird to see the roster like shake itself out, and they're settling down onto the people they actually want to focus on. But even then, as we mentioned, like the Maximals, who are very heavily featured, especially in the later half of 2002, slowly just get phased out. 2002 TNA, it's a strange identity-less year where they're throwing everything they possibly can at the wall, seeing desperately what might perhaps stick, realizing, I think, none of it is sticking.
I think that's the funnest thing about this year, is that each month felt like they were trying a different aspect of the show out to see what would be the best point of action. Like, November was the weird, like, X Division showcase month. The week before that was, like, traditional wrestling show. The week before that it was, like, more extreme, like, Vince Russo kind of segments. So it's like, it really felt like every month had its own identity, which was an interesting development. But now I'm interested in seeing how the more settled style of Vince Russo permeates throughout 2000.
Actually, yeah, when you look at what they didn't do, it's like there's very little like real hardcore stuff in the early days of TNA.
Yeah, I guess the closest you had was the Dup Cup.
Yeah, which was played for comedy more than it was played for actual like violence. And we'll see a lot more of that in 2003 as more of the old ECW names show up.
What?
The shock of all shocks. We mentioned Mike Awesome already, so it is, you know, it's of the three major companies that were there before TNA. You had ECW, WCW, and WWF. This company so far is very much leaning toward what the WWF and WCW did, and very much not what ECW used to do.
Well, I'm looking forward to that changing.
So that's the things we can look forward to in 2003. We're going to do a full 2002 year in review on the Patreon, where we'll probably crown some awards like Rest of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, Match of the Year, stuff like that. So you can look forward to that sometime over the next 2 weeks. We'll bang that one out. Patreon.com/kiddingme. That's December.
TNAchat.com.
Yes, TNAchat.com, of course.